Hello there guys, RMP792 here. So, yesterday I said that I was going to be doing this sort of semi-ongoing series where I would be talking about various DC properties and how I would bring them into the DCEU. So yesterday I talked about Green Lantern, and today I said I would talk about Zatanna. And this video is probably going to be a fair bit shorter than yesterday's, partially because I'm not talking about the DCEU as a whole first. I'm just going straight into Zatanna as a character and a potential hypothetical film. And partially because I know a lot less about the character specifically than I do about the Green Lanterns. And honestly, that's at least part of the reason that I would love to see a film adaptation. Because again, I'm one of these weirdos who really likes comic book lore, but kind of can't stand sequential art as a storytelling medium. I don't know what it is. I find comic books really hard to read for some reason. I don't know. It's weird. So I've never really got into reading actual comics, but the concept of superheroes and and that kind of stuff really works for me for whatever reason. So, so my knowledge of Zatanna as a character is a lot more limited. So if I get anything wrong or make any lore mistakes or anything like that, my apologies in advance. I'm speaking purely as a fan of DC as a concept, and my knowledge of her as an individual character is less limited. So this is going to end up being a lot more my general thoughts on introducing magic into the DCEU, which Shazam is pretty much going to be doing in like a week anyway. But this is how I would handle it, having not seen Shazam yet, not knowing what rules they've laid down. But again, it's magic. You can always be as wibbly wobbly as you like with it. So, for those not aware, the character of Zatanna is, I'll freely admit, I like the principle of her design, because in the comics, her father was a stage magician and a genuine magic user, and he trained her to do both. So, or actually no, I think in the original comics, she didn't find out that her family was, actual genuine wizards until, she was fully grown and her father went missing, because of course her father went missing. It's a comic book movie. Her father has to be either dead or missing. But as a result, her entire ethos is based around a little bit of showmanship. She's a very powerful wizard, but she's also trained in things like sleight of hand and distraction and deception and all that stuff that stage magicians use. And I think that's a really interesting concept and a really interesting combination, because if I was going to do a Zatanna movie, I'd tweak the origin story a bit. Because we've all seen the oh yes, my father trained me, and yes, this and that. What I'd do is I would make Zatanna's parents a magical double act, the classic magician and his glamorous assistant. And I would make it that her father was the stage magician. He was the he was the one who could do the sleight of hand and the separating of the rings and all and the card tricks and all those classic archetypal magical stage magician-y stuff. But his glamorous assistant, the woman he genuinely loved, his wife, was a very powerful witch, wizard, mage, whatever you care to call them in this particular adaptation. Spell slinger. And as a result, Zatanna was trained by both her parents to be able to utilize both distraction and sleight of hand and genuine actual magic. Because again, I think that's a really interesting combination for a character, because again, people are going to assume that magic is faked. Even in the DC universe, you get a lot of people who will be like, well, I can believe that alien can fly, but magic, this seems a step too far. So I'm curious to see how they handle that in Shazam. But the principle there is that something happens to one or both of her parents probably my money would be on, her mother dies somewhere in her teenage years and her father goes missing sometime later. Again, I feel like there's probably a way to handle this. That is significantly less cliched, but it's it's part of her origin story that she originally went looking for her father, and that's how she kind of discovered herself. So maybe keep that, maybe change that up. Again, I'm talking broad strokes here, so I would probably keep that on on the download. But ultimately, this this story has to be of somebody coming of age and finding their niche within the world. So maybe when she was younger, she was her, after something suspiciously magical happened to her mother, she took over the role of her father's stage assistant. And then as kind of a symbolic thing of her stepping into her own, she spends most of the film using effectively a variant of her stage assistant's costume. And it's not until the end of the film that we get her in what is effectively the full Zatanna gear. And if you're not aware, Zatanna's look is basically, full-on, classic magician. So, top hat, tails, the whole thing, except she swaps out the bottom half for fishnets and long boots. And again, a lot of people are going to cry over sexualization on that one, and honestly, you're kind of right. But the entire premise of Zatanna in that regard is she's a showman, she's a showwoman. She is there to put on an act. So honestly, the level of sexualization in the costume, I think, should be a conversation between the actor who's going to be playing them and the costume department and the director, where it's basically a case of, okay, actress, we've hired you to play this role. Here's what she wears in the comics. How comfortable are you with that? Do you want us to tone it down or what? And go from there. Because again, there's a reason why why Power Girl is such a popular cosplay, because while Power Girl's costume is in many ways very, very sexualized, and there's a reason why she's stuck around for so long in the comics. It's because artists like drawing her. A lot of women genuinely find wearing the Power Girl costume makes them feel empowered. So I'm not going to say that Zatanna shouldn't wear the fishnets or go for that whole look. I'm saying that should be up to the actor, the actress, and the costume department, and the director and everybody else to basically go in and say, okay, what do we think works for this interpretation of the character? And I'll freely admit, I would quite like to see Zatanna's full-on costume, because yeah, it looks good. It looks very stylish and very striking, and it pulls off that stage magician look. And Zatanna, I think, the one element of the costume that I think is utterly necessary is the hat. Because the hat sells it. It's the full-on, take the hat off, pull the rabbit out of it, magician thing. And Zatanna being Zatanna, she's fully capable of doing that either with, the traditional magic, however they do it. I'm assuming, there's a bunny rabbit hidden in the table that they put the hat on or whatever. Or she's able to just do it by actual, opening a portal and pulling the rabbit through from its cage. And again, part of the reason that I want this to be simultaneously a film about magic and illusion and magic is that if you've ever seen The Prestige, one of the most interesting elements about that film is how they do a lot of the magic, how they do a lot of the stage magic. And you can have a lot of fun with the same sort of concept of mixing stage magic with actual spell casting. And again, I appreciate, I kind of feel like I'm repeating the same point here, but I think you could have a lot of fun with that. It could be really interesting. And in terms of what genre you are going for here, you are ultimately going for what I would probably describe as a... Oh, how would I best describe this? Honestly, I'd probably go with almost the heist formula, but with stage magic. Insofar as, there's somebody who knows something about what happened to one of her missing relatives, and she needs to infiltrate that. And the best way she can think of doing it is that, you know, the building next door is doing some big corporate, you know, thingy with it, you know those things that corporations like to do from time to time, or particularly American ones, where they'll, you know, just get all the employees in a big theater hall for the day, and, you know, put in a magic show or some, you know, talk from some, you know, some industry bigwig and all the usual bollocks, and all the employees are just sitting there going, oh god, why have we got to sit through this crap? That sort of thing. And so she's simultaneously putting on a magic show while also trying to infiltrate this place, because, you know, it's some sort of secret cult or coven, or, you know, or there's something more sinister going on. And, you know, and so she's got to simultaneously put on the show while nicking the stuff. And that lets you do some really fun mystical back and forth, where, you know, she sort of, you know, gets a couple of audience members to pop up and, you know, to come up and sort of say, okay, I'm going to get in this cabinet now and you're going to spin it round, you know, and you know, and she puts on a really, really great magic show while also, you know, teleporting around the thing and you know, doing that kind of stuff. And again, I'm just spitballing ideas here. This is mostly me pulling things out of my arse, but the one thing I will say, again, I haven't seen Shazam yet, so I don't know how much they're establishing magic in that. But given that Shazam's entire power base is given to him by a wizard, you know, I'm feeling like he needs to have, you know, so there will definitely be magic, obviously, but I'm, you know, in terms of the ground rules, I think you do firmly need to establish what she can and can't do, and again, pull some visually interesting stuff with it, because a fight between wizards should be a fascinating thing to watch. And that's one of the problems with the Harry Potter film adaptations, in that, you know, they're mostly just going, you know, whereas in the books, you know, there's a fight between Voldemort and Dumbledore in the end of book 5, where they keep doing stuff like, you know, transfiguring statues to go and get them to attack each other, and you know, conjuring magic shields and all sorts of really cool and interesting stuff. And none of that ever really got translated into the films. You know, and Doctor Strange does a lot of that, you know, psychedelic, you know, whips and, you know, sort of mystic swords and things like that. But again, I feel like there's all sorts of fascinating things you can do with magic as a combat art beyond just the classic, I'm going to make a fireball and throw it at your face. So I would absolutely love to see that. And eventually, I'll be honest, I kind of want the ultimate end of the fight to involve her top hat, because I just love the idea, you know, of throughout the entire film, you know, people, you know, maybe keep taking the piss out of the top hat, because again, it's ridiculous. The top hat is silly, you know, it makes no sense. But at the end, it actually gets revealed that there is a full-on magic portal inside the top hat. You know, maybe one of the bad guys tries to punch her or something like that, and she just flips the top hat up, or he puts his arm straight through. Ooh, and he sort of looks really, really confused, and then she just slugs him. Or, you know, blasts him across the room with magic or something like that. Again, there's a lot of places you can go with this, and, you know, you could have a lot of fun with it. Or no. Here's a good one. You know, he sticks his hand in the top hat, looks very confused, and then you just hear, and he just pulls his hand out, screaming. And there's like 6 bunny rabbits, you know, clamped onto his hand by their teeth. I just came up with that. That is really, really stupid, but it would be fun, because ultimately that's what this film needs to be. It needs to be a bright, fun, you know, film filled with lots of fun, cool magic, and Zatanna herself as a character needs to be a very over-the-top showman. Yeah, and you can do, you know, the darker sequences where she's, you know, doubting whether she's up to this. You can do all that kind of stuff, but ultimately the focus needs to be on her as, you know, again, in the, I always say that every good origin movie, and I am pitching an origin movie here, effectively, needs to have a sequence in which the person becomes the hero. You know, so again, it's Wonder Woman's trench scene. It's the scene where Superman catches Lois in the helicopter. It's the bit in Batman Begins where he's taking out all those goons in the shipping docks. You know, and then right at the end, you know, one of them goes, "Who are you?" And he just goes, "I'm Batman." it's that sequence basically. And for this film, that sequence needs to be the first time we see her step out onto a stage in her full, in the full costume, whatever that ends up being, and puts on a show, and the show itself is the distraction, is the sleight of hand. And again, taking all the lessons that she learned and just going almost full tilt diva in a this is a performance, and it's one that will keep the audience wrapped. And I'm talking both about the audience she's putting on the show for and the audience in the cinema. Just keep all the attention focused on her, so they don't realize what's going on. Again, I'd take inspiration in this regard from Leverage. If you've not seen Leverage, it's a cracking good show. Basically about a bunch of crooks who end up working together to be effectively kind of Robin Hood, so stealing from the rich, giving back to the poor, that kind of stuff. No, it's a cracking good show, and in almost every episode of that, there's a bit where they re-show you a scene from earlier, but with something you missed. So one of the characters is really, really good at sleight of hand and stealing stuff. So there's quite often a bit in an episode where she just bumps into somebody, and once you've seen it a few times, you know that she just stole their ID card or something like that. But they usually manage to come up with a good twist on it. So you rewatch the episode and you're like, ah, right, okay, that's what was going on there. And that's the kind of vibe you need here. So maybe while she's putting on this big show, all the attention of the bad guys is focused on her because they know she's trying to infiltrate their secret base. And what they don't realize is she's already done it. This big show is the diversion while their secret computer files get decrypted. Because it's going to take a while and potentially they might find out about it. But if she can keep all their attention focused on her without them realizing she's already been and done the big heist, then she can, something like that. So again, there needs to be a twist at the end of this film because ultimately it's a film about a magician, and all good films about magicians need a twist because sleight of hand and misdirection and everything else is core to the concept. But I think you could have an awful lot of fun with distracting you've got to distract the audience away from what's really going on while also leaving a lot of clues so they could potentially figure it out. And that's a very fine line to walk. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm bad at that. I'm really bad at putting in subtle hints and twists into things. So when I write anything that involves a plot twist, you can almost always see it, at like 5 miles away, which is why I don't do it very often. But yeah, those are my broad, basic thoughts on Zatanna and what to do for her first film. Again, a lot of rambling, a lot of wibbly wobbly. Again, I'll freely admit this is one of my less thought through ideas. This is mostly just me talking for 18 minutes. Really? Wow. Okay. Turns out even when I pull stuff out my arse, I can ramble quite impressively. But yeah, so that's what I would like to see from a Zatanna film. Is ultimately a film about her being what she is. So simultaneously a magician and a powerful spell slinger, both at once. Because I think there's a lot of fun and a lot of potential there for a really fun, cheerful movie that can go to a couple of dark places when you want it to. So yeah, that's pretty much all the thoughts I've got on that. So who should I do next? I haven't come to a decision about who the next one's going to be about. If you have any comments, requests, suggestions, please make use of that there comment section. And if not, I will come up with somebody to talk about next week. And yeah. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you either in the next one of these or the next Discovery vlog, whichever comes first.